we're going to go over this really quick, so I want you to use this video to check your work, okay? If you did it all by yourself and you finished, see how you did. And if you are stuck, or if you were stuck while you were working, or you had some confusion, today was just the first day of this unit, so use this video to help guide you, okay? So for this, we're writing each amount as a decimal, okay? So 2/4. So first we have to think, well, how much is a quarter worth? A quarter is worth 25 cents, okay? So if I have 25 cents and another 25 cents, well, together 25 cents and 25 cents is 50 cents. So as a decimal, I'd say it has no holes and 5 tenths. 10 tenths, 20 tenths, 30 tenths, 40 tenths, 50 tenths, 50 cents, and no hundredths, okay? This, 3 dimes and 5 pennies. Well, each dime is worth 10 cents. So if you have 3 dimes, you have 10, 20, 30 cents, and 5 pennies. But part of this isn't just understanding it's worth 5 cents, but how do you write it? That's no holes, no tenths, and 5 hundredths. So together you have no holes. How many tenths do you have? 1, 2, 3 tenths, and 5 hundredths. So it's 0 and 35 hundredths. And I know you don't have to write it as a fraction, but just thinking that as a fraction it would be 35 hundredths. Just like this one as a fraction would be 50 hundredths. Okay, so going down here now, 3/4 as a fraction. Okay, so 3/4 is 25 cents, 25 cents, 25 cents. So as a decimal, I first think, okay, well that's 75 cents. But now let's read 75 cents. Now, this takes some basic place value understanding. So there's no holes, there's 7 tenths, and this is the hundredths. So the way we read this is 0 and 75 hundredths. And that helps me write it actually as a fraction. I heard 75 hundredths. Okay? So 7 dimes. If I write it as a decimal, 7 dimes is 70 cents. But writing it as a decimal actually assists me with writing it as a fraction. Because look, it's 0 and 70. And I put an arrow down here because what is this place value? It's the holes, the tenths, the hundredths. So 0 and 70 hundredths. And I heard 70 hundredths. Okay? So next up, use numbers, labeled sketches, or words to show your work. Okay, so Mila has half of $1. Claire has $1/4. How much do they have together? Okay, so that's telling me it's what one person has and what another person has, and together I'm going to be adding. Okay, so we want to write our answer as a fraction and as a decimal. All right, so we said one girl has a half and one girl has $1/4. So we're adding fractions. The problem here is the denominators aren't the same, because when you add the numerator, denominator stays the same. But unfortunately, when the denominators don't start the same, that makes it a little tricky. There's an extra step. So I think about this and I say, wait a minute, 1/2, can I write an equivalent fraction? Okay, so if I look at $1, if I use a model, right now they have a $1/2, but look how I cut it. Is 1/2, so 1/2 $1 right there. Can it be written another way? Well, I also see 1, 2 out of 4. So 2/4. 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 2 is 2. So instead of calling a 1/2, we can write an equivalent fraction of 2/4. So 2/4 and 1/4, now we can do add the numerators, denominator stays the same. And we get 3/4. Now, let's look at this. If we have 3/4 of $1, that's kind of like 25 cents, 25 cents, 25 cents. And so, because a quarter is 25 cents. And this is 2 quarters, so that's a 25 cents and a 25 cents. And so together we have 25 plus 25 is 50, plus 25 is 75 cents. Okay, another way to think about that, and I don't want to confuse us, but I am going to show you, is how do you get from 4 to 100? You have to multiply it by 25. If you do the same thing to the top, 3 times 25, you get 75. So 3/4 in equivalent fraction is 75 hundredths. And so 3/4, 75 hundredths, if that's equal, listen to how I'm reading it, 75 hundredths. And now look at my decimal, 0 and 75 hundredths. Okay? All right, the next one. Henry has $1 1/4 dollars. Angel has $1 1/2 dollars. How much do they have together? So again, we have two amounts that we are adding up. So some of us might right away say, okay, well, 1 and 1 together, so far they've got $2, right? Because I can just add those whole dollars up. And then I can deal with the change. So we just talked about this. 1/4, it actually sounds like that. 1/4, 1/4 is 1/4. It's actually worth 25 cents. And 1/2, half a dollar is 50 cents. So as a decimal amount, I can see they have $2, and now put your change together. $2.75. Okay? But as a fraction amount, let's read this. 2 and 75 hundredths. So I'm going to write it as a fraction. 2 and 75 hundredths. Okay? And the last one, Iris has $1 3/5 dollars. Violet has 2 5/10. So I'm going to write down the first amount. 2 5/10. This is one person, another person. How much money do the girls have together? Okay, so this is again an addition problem. Okay, problem is denominators are different. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about this and we'll go into more detail. Well, first my eye goes to these whole numbers. $1 and $2. I can see together they have 3 whole dollars. But now I've got 3/5 and 5/10. Now the way I look at this, right away I think, wait a minute, could I make fifths into tenths? So fifths to tenths, how do you get from 5 to 10? You multiply it by 2. So do the same thing to the top, multiply it by 2, and you get 6/10. So we could call that 6/10 and 5/10. Okay, now this gets a little tricky too, because 6/10 and 5/10, if you add them together, you get 11/10. But wait a minute, 11 out of 10? If I draw a model of that, and I've got 10, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, wait, I have not 10 tenths, I've got an extra. I've got 11/10. So another way you can write that is 1 and 1/10. So that's just my change. They had 3 together, 3 full dollars, and now they've also got this. So 3 plus $1 is 4 and 1/10. As a decimal, we can say, wait a minute, 4 and 1/10 is the fraction that they have, and as a decimal, they have 4 and 1 in the 10th spot. No hundredths. Okay? If doing this was blowing your mind kind of, it seemed too complicated, I want to assure you that we are going to do work with mixed numbers and work with improper fractions in the next week or so. So if you were feeling overwhelmed by this type of a problem, we will be having lessons that just give a little bit more background information on how exactly to solve these, okay? So hopefully the video could at least just guide you. If you were able to do it on your own, that's awesome. That means that you picked up skills from 3rd and 4th grade, hopefully, and pulled them along to help you. So we will continue. Good job with your PM block work.